Our progress towards the summit has slowed. It's May 9th. This is your daily dispatch from Everest Basecamp. I'm Ben Ayers with Everest Live. I was all excited to report today about how the rope fixing team was going to rest in Camp 2, push up for probably a likely May 12th summit. But we just watched the rope fixing team walk into base camp. And honestly, I totally get it. Those guys have been working super hard in really, really bad conditions to get the ropes all the way up to Camp 4. And I think that they're just too tired to push on. They've come down to base camp to be able to rest and recover. And that's going to slow that eventual fixing to the summit by a few days. It doesn't look likely that we're going to make the 12th window. Time will tell. Miracles can happen. Stranger things have happened this season. But my money is not on that May 12th summit. So let's see how that affects other teams. For example, Dr. Shauna Burke, who many of you have followed through our channel and through hers, she's planning to head up tonight. Get ready, wait in Camp 2 and follow, that first wave of climbers up to the summit. Unclear if those plans will change in light of this new information, or if they'll just chill out in Camp 2, which is sort of an oxymoron. But if she'll wait up there and just go as soon as the ropes are ready. So another thing sort of on the horizon is that the government of Nepal released the final permit numbers for the season, and we have 492 Everest permits this year. That is the highest number in history. And honestly, it came as a surprise to me. I thought we were going to be kicking it around like 450. But last minute permit additions, we have the highest number ever. And what that's going to, the obvious question is that going to lead to crazy crowding in this very, very compressed climbing season? Probably. I mean, that's probably what's going to happen. We're going to have to see how the weather cooperates as well. This year has not it doesn't look like it's lending itself to these patterns of big, long stretches of good weather where everybody can stretch out. So, I'm generally an Everest optimist, but I do think that a lot of the teams now are going to be thinking about how and when do they go up to the summit to avoid the crowds, and how and when do they go to the summit to get the good weather. It may be one or the other this year. Again, time will tell. So I'm really excited, though. We have a special guest live with us today. Our good friend, and many of you have asked if we would interview Justin Sackett. And he's here at Basecamp with us. So Justin, come on over. Welcome to Everest Live.
Thanks. Good to be here.
And so Justin, you're just down from your first rotation or second?
First rotation. Yep. I got back yesterday morning. Pretty much all the way through the Western Coombe now. There's Camp 2 right there.
And so for those of you, I'm sure most of you have followed Justin and Ryan Mitchell's. They both came here to climb Everest without oxygen. Ryan got sick and had to go home, so Justin's carrying the torch alone.
Yep.
And so Justin, let's just talk a bit about what you're after this year. I think one of the things that a lot of people question is, before you came to Everest, you climbed Amana Blum, and so you're going straight for the summit without oxygen, which is it's really difficult physically, and it's also potentially really dangerous.
Sure.
What's going through your head in terms of your risk assessment and your safety measures to try to make sure that this is an endeavor that you come back from?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's super exciting opportunity for me to get to try to climb not only an 8,000 meter peak, but the highest 8,000 meter peak. And on my first try at it, doing an 8,000 meter peak without oxygen. Like you said, previously only 6,800 meters on Amana Blum. And I think a couple things, like a slow acclimatization strategy. A lot of people are only touching or sleeping at Camp 3 and then going straight for the summit. I've already slept 2 nights at Camp 3, and I'm planning to sleep at Camp 4 before I go. So my thought is, if I can listen to my body, I can go all the way to 8,000 meters and sleep there. And I still feel good, then I think I have a decent safety margin going all the way to the top without oxygen. If I feel terrible at Camp 4, I can't sleep, I have a vicious headache, then hey, like when I go up for the summer rotation, like I'll turn on the oxygen and make sure I don't bring myself to the brink.
Totally.
So
And so tell me about, your support staff and who you're climbing with. This isn't a solo ascent by any means.
yeah, totally. So I'm climbing with Tenjin Galjin Sherpa. He's summited Everest like 8 times. The way we're kind of doing it is just climbing as climbing partners. The difference will be that on summit day, he's going to be on oxygen. He'll have 2 bottles for himself, and then he'll carry 1 additional bottle for me. Should I black out or something happen, I'm able to put on the oxygen and like safely get down.
Got it.
So yeah, it's amazing to get to climb with him, see how strong he is. Like, it's amazing to see how strong the Sherpa are.
Yeah. Yeah. And tell me about that. Like, tell me about the impressions that you've had. It's not, it's something that you see on a, 7,000 meter peak or something like Amida Blanc, but on Everest, it's a whole different thing.
It's totally different. I think a great example is like 2 days ago, we were going from Camp 2 to Camp 3. And the only people going from Camp 2 to Camp 3 were like no O2 climbers. It was like me, Kristen Hurilla, this guy Bartek from Poland, all who have climbed like multiple 8,000 meter peaks without oxygen. These are all like professional athletes.
Yeah.
They all took about 4.5 hours to get from Camp 2 to Camp 3 with like medium loads. Tenjin was carrying like a full tent, a stove, fuel, and he got up there in 2.5 hours waiting for me a bunch. He was like, hey, Justin, how are you doing? I got up after him in like 3 hours. And I was just thinking to myself, man, like these are some of the best Western, like no oxygen, 8,000 meter peak climbers. And Tenjin totally halved their times.
Yeah.
So like, it's a different game. I think the best Western climbers are like at best mid-pack Sherpa.
Yeah, totally.
So it was really cool to see.
And just to like philosophically, it's something that I've noticed a lot is that, like Tenjin, he has 8 Everest summits.
Yeah.
Like if you had 8 Everest summits, you'd have a speaking career. You'd have a full life in America.
Yeah.
Whereas, he's still working on the mountain. How does that discrepancy make you feel? I don't know. I'm just curious, like in terms of like equity and in terms of like true partnerships, like what goes through your mind when you've experienced that and when you saw that on the mountain?
Oh my God. It's like so front of mind for me because, like you said, he'd be famous in the United States. He'd be the absolute best high altitude climber we have by a mile. And he's, maybe in the top 10 or 20% of Sherpa, but like you said, he'll keep working on Everest for a long time. So for me, it's a couple things around the equity. Like he's like, oh, let me take all the gear. And I'm like, hey man, like let's split the group gear 50-50. I'll carry my own stuff. Like I appreciate you and you're strong. And like, I'm not going to make you carry all of my things, which is kind of the standard on Everest. And then I would say outside of that, getting a following is important for them, right? Like if they have 10,000 followers on Instagram, they're going to get the best jobs. They're going to get higher pay. They're going to get private clients.
Interesting.
So for me, it's like every time I do something with him, I don't want him like hidden in the background. Any way I can elevate him with like my small following, like I try to do.
That's something I hadn't considered, is sort of in this age, in our current age, like, your social media presence is actually,
it matters for them. And I think a lot of Western climbers do like take the summit photo where it's just them. They're like, I did this all by myself. And in reality, there's like 15 Sherpa over there who like fixed the ropes, broke the trail, carried all of your stuff. And it's like, to not show that, I think is pretty dishonest.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one of the things too, that there's a lot of, in the annals of internet trolls and whatnot, there's a lot of people love to hate Everest. And a lot of the people sort of, they also love to portray the Sherpa workers as sort of being like massively exploited. And to me, that's also not something that I see or experience on the mountain. I see them having full agency in what they're doing, being proud of their jobs, love.
For sure.
It's just a question of getting the recognition that they deserve, in my mind.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, Tenjin and I enjoyed being up there. Like he like smiled. He was like, this is awesome. And it's really hard work, like there's no doubt that, to get a person from the United States to do the same job as the Sherpa, which A, they just like couldn't do, but B, like you'd have to pay them a lot of money because it is really hard work, like at 7,000 meters doing anything.
Yeah, 100%. So let's finish up with just, if you could just paint us a picture. We were talking a little bit about this in the coffee shop. But tell me about the second night in Camp 3 when you're feeling good. You're actually going to get some sleep. The sun's setting. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What's that experience like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has an idea of Everest, and at least for me, it like totally blew my mind at sunset. Like it's the highest I'd ever been. I didn't have that bad of a headache, so I was feeling like a bit emotional, just like I was like proud and happy that my body was doing as well as it was. And then the sun was setting like down the western Coombe. You have Everest on the right, Nuptse on the left, and then I saw Cho Yu, another 8,000-meter peak on the Nepal-China border. And I just was like, man, like this is maybe the most beautiful place I've been. All the, pre-existing thoughts I had about Everest, I was like, none of that matters. Like this is just a amazing piece of nature, And I couldn't help but think, I was like, man, like over 1,000 meters higher on the summit ridge, like I bet I'll see the curvature of the earth if I can make it there.
Yeah,
so
right on.
I was pretty moved and excited for the rest of the trip.
That's beautiful, man. Thank you. Well, thanks for your time, Justin. Are there any questions, Andy, from the audience?
It's just about rotations, and do climbers bring down rubbish and stuff? What they're kind of moving back and forth?
So the question that came through is about rotations and how does the rubbish move along with the climbers? How does garbage move along with the climbers? Basically, there are rules about every time you go above base camp. I think this year it's 6 kilos or 8 kilos? 8 kilos this year. And so did you bring stuff down in your rotation, or did just Tenzing? How did that work with you guys?
Yeah, so we went up, we brought down all of our own rubbish, like poop, trash, empty fuel cans. And then at Camp 2, we actually did fill like a full rice bag full.
Yeah.
And then carried half and half each down. I strapped the rice bag to my pack, and Tenzing put some in his pack. I think we got maybe 10 or 12 kilos, and we'll try to get some more.
Yeah.
On the next rotation as well.
Totally. And so that's a part of Everest climbing that isn't well advertised, is that climbers and guides are required to bring garbage down. Some paying clients, admittedly, are not willing to or able to carry their share, but that is also what the drones are for. There's a system where each of the companies are responsible for bringing that amount of garbage off the mountain. And because of that, the mountain is getting cleaner with every climber that goes up to the top.
The second question about climbing with no O2, but for your Sherpa to have oxygen, and the potential risk that puts kind of the Sherpa on.
Sure. Is that one that you want to address?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's
the question again, Ben.
Oh, sorry. So the question was, when you're climbing with no oxygen, but your Sherpa is on oxygen, is that putting that Sherpa at extra risk? What are the ethics of that question? How do you think about those ethics?
Yeah, I think about it a lot because like my full-time job is also being a guide. So essentially, when you hire a guide, you're paying them to keep you safe, and they are putting themselves at more risk to keep you safe. But in this situation now, Tenzing is keeping me safe. So there's no doubt that I'm putting him at more risk, and I'm very conscious of that. So in my mind, it's acclimatizing as well as I can, listening to my body, making sure I'm not pushing too far, which would put myself at risk, but admittedly would put Tenzing at risk as well.
Yeah. So. And you have your eyes wide open towards that.
Absolutely. It's like front of mind for me. And I mean, Tenzing's a great person. Like I don't want to put him at any risk. And we have a pretty good relationship where I feel confident that I'll listen to my body, and he'll watch me too and say like, hey, you're not okay.
Yeah. And you'll listen to him if he says that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right on. Cool. Well, thanks everybody. We do want to apologize for the technical difficulties we had yesterday with Andy's breathing. It was sort of a mic error. Thanks for pushing through that. I'm glad we don't have that today. Andy is filming this. We do want to make that point. We also want to give a shout out to Ryan Mitchell, who's not able to be here, but he's here in spirit with us. And we'll put Tenzing's Insta bio in the liner notes so you guys can give him a follow, give Justin a follow, and we'll see you all again tomorrow.